Is Aonghas MacNeacail. I am Aonghas MacNeacail, poet in Gaelic, English, and occasionally in Scots. And I will begin with one of my earliest poems, which is actually in English. Gaelic almost came as an afterthought because of the way education didn't give us a reason to be proud of our own language, but that's another story. So I wrote a poem, The Divide. And it's actually, it refers to old Donald and his brother John, but it's as much two aspects of how we were brought up in the islands, where we were all, more or less all, native Gaelic speakers. And we went into the local primary school, and our infant teacher, her first job was to teach us English, which became quite quickly the language of education. Our own native language had no status whatsoever. The Divide. Old Donald has seen New York from seaward, spent a winter in Archangel, been broke in Valparaiso, has drunk till dawn with shanty blacks in Cape Town, smuggled liquor here to there, loved a dancing girl in Cairo, and has no regrets except that his bones are grown brittle, his muscles stiff, his eyes cloudy. The tramp he sailed for over 30 years went to the breaker's yard in 1948. Now he sits in his house by the shore, listening to the gulls, looking westward, reminiscing, waiting. His brother John lives inland, tending his score of lean black cattle, playing pibrochs on a chanter. He does not hear the crows prattle. Daily he cleans and polishes his father's bagpipes, and never let these pipes play reels for dancers, but dreams he is the last MacCrimmon, lamenting the desolation of Bharrachd. Second poem in English is called Alistair's Soliloquy. And this is really based on a cousin of mine who had been a merchant seaman, traveled the world, but then as he got a bit older, had family to look after and came back home and worked as a clerk with the local ferry company. But every now and again he would go out in his small boat to do a bit of fishing, so he didn't lose contact with the sea altogether. Alistair's Soliloquy. This is where I earn my bread. Across this desk, through glass, I see trawlers dock, unload and sail, while I sell tickets to see travellers with cars, tourists, Gaelic drunks and ministers. In my skiff, silky, there are no clocks or pens. I drift, net herring, pot lobsters, follow the Solon, who know where mackerel shoal, and on dark nights after rain, I may steal into the lax estuary where I will take many fine salmon. I am a man upon the sea. I know every bank between Waternish and Hoonish, and every scare. I am not afraid of storm or calm. My boat is sturdy, and I am patient. I am a man upon the land, and this is where I earn my bread. Across this desk, through glass, I see the Silky taut against her anchor chain. I am now going to read some poems in Gaelic with translations. And I invariably, unless it is insisted to the contrary, I read the original first, so that people can at least hear the sound of it, and then try to catch up with the meaning in the translation. Dòlgachi. Seall na gioy a siúils na gòlancaiche, satag alabhachuach. Seall na duliach an dereg a géri skia scarstgui, a géri sa siúl. Am bratan sgrìobhadair amach a hlia. Gria na donna sínig, jalach a géri, na parabolahan cógladach jálach. Saur a siúl, fór a greim, Cloch mór a sgúlug as a dheoy. Nún sa nau calla, fócarach, a nún sa nau, nún sa nau, nún sa nau. Going home. See the geese journeying and the swallows, long since the cuckoo went. See the red leaves rising on the wing of a gust, rising and travelling. The salmon is a great way out on his journey. The sun reclining, moon rising in their familiar changing parabolas. Summer journeying, autumn on his back, a great cloak spreading behind. Back and forward on the wharf, an exile, back and forward, back and forward, back and forward. Bialpik. A bheolbhíc a níos go na chan an úr mar a líon de bharrachd, Cainachad. A bheolbhíc an séin go na chan an úr na hárin óg go háisich tím. A bheolbhíc an dénne crút a bhíohu go. A bheolbhíc Jane Clis an dur a túirt lá go. Sés a bheolbhíc a tic mi ha is de litin túm a garam mar gheallan geal a sáthag fiol chrúi móidin. A bheolbhíc a nichu mi. A bheolbhíc a dus an ún ha gerimta bhí. A bheolbhíc spannin an fuim that rás ré stú calla an túin. A bheolbhíc nuair a hiilis tú a glán an ballab a níos a gaibh nach cúlú fás na chan an úr nach talat crag. Little Mouth. Little Mouth, tell me in your new language how your mother filmed with you. Remember that. Little Mouth, sing to me in your new language the young songs that started time. Little Mouth, make for me the shape of your feeding. Little Mouth, what's the sport? Give me the colour of your day. Hold, Little Mouth, too fast for me. Your syllables flood over me in torrents of white lightning, stabbing the hard flesh of my patience. Little Mouth, would you eat me? Little Mouth, you're not the first to say, I am. Little Mouth, purse of noises, still as a rose, now harbour of sleep. Little Mouth, when you return from the dumb glen, tell those who haven't heard your new language that you don't like pain. Marilyn Monroe. There's a sense in which the first word in the poem actually says it all, or, which translates as gold, because Marilyn became gold to those around her. And they, in many ways, was left with very little of any kind of value to herself. Marilyn Monroe. Or na de groig, or an een de chas, or an rusk chatlach de hulen bio, or na de groin am fachen ahi, or roeg de wielen, or sa golden vien aard de faskig de smik, or sa brulach jaltenach pastje na wat, or na de gres shang meeten de groegen, an een loopnen sleesitjes kloen en djuverach. Ren döbrin òracht down sa cool tuk ach súli halug. Het bio na de huslin, het bio na de chrie, het bio gun himmel niet anam, agus dosne, de gaarje, de go shein, de go lavard, maar bruin de goor. Agus tuk ach verre choom dis juchtig na jalavu, or waar kalakach tach lakin, gebuin roosje de gas, or, bio na marav. Kut na chrachucha cúri, sit a jol an hu je sporran sult orach de vein. Or. And the title is, as before, Marilyn Monroe. Gold in your hair, gold in the nails on your feet, gold in the sleepy lids of your living eyes, gold in your cheeks in their rumour of a blush, red gold of your lips, gold in the raised shoulder that shelters your chin, Gold in your breasts, their promise enfolded in wisps. Gold in your slender waist and the meadows of your hip, in the curve of thigh and on your knee of mysteries. Your golden ankle gave slim dances that any eye could see. Quicksilver in your veins, quicksilver in your heart, quicksilver to every corner of your soul, and your sighs, your laugh, your singing, your speech, like a mist of gold. And to every man who kept you in the screen's dissolving field, gold from the maned top of your skull to the bare soles of your feet, gold, 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 alive or dead. Some say you weren't so fragrant as they suck the substance from the fertile purse of your skin. Gold, gold, gold. It's kind of difficult to pin this one down because it's I suppose it's a poem about my mother and the environment she grew up in and therefore passed on to me, which was very heavy-duty Presbyterian. And Adam and Eve were where it all began, so the apple as a symbol seemed appropriate. Chonnig mi misg na nôlw. O bhàird mo chaine, chonnig mi misg na nôlw, glésig na críomh na smórtin míntechan. Get the leif shremine hit out the hori and scialat mo evis and olas mealag them fair. Get the scarnig the scials et own goal is bountrach, usse nach talagach stoch a roos na smear mo a drish and gaintir crikke. Get the hanin curtus a lavard nur ha meertus or santigo huchleinin. She ha lavardach usse nam chaine. Snam a chaine a doortje mar an riev, nur a vandag maunders an lavard, mar even en je gari, san sciala huru an skor an innerljars na hinsje. I saw you among the apples. O mother of memories, I saw you among the apples, pruning the trees, your thoughts and sweet things. Though the text the black preacher who buried you took was the one about Eve and the apple and the temptation of men. Though your story divides between one love and widowhood, you who'd entice no being except perhaps a rose or a soft blackberry from a thorn in its rocky prison. Though I'd say it's you who are speaking when my wish is to hear your voice. Who speaks is you in my memory. And in my memory, when it was time for speaking, you seldom said much, like Eve after the garden, in the story you were given in the school of the one book and the tellings. Dòmhnall. Your dogs. I suppose this was my attempt to capture a sense of the essence of dog, of which there are many varieties. Dòmhnall. Is mishe de chu shelike, sket a bhín gal, sa bhána goram, se malúas malús, cha hechin de chrech ma háhu grad. Is mishe de chu táide, rac do h-Alba, nach géil, nach fan, gus an glasmin am ghéil de hol. Is mishe de chu trusi, a channel, spray rómach de smóintin, a búltin sultran, nan stra ré, nan corri clú, for an rád rahuimnach. Smishe de chusale, suahug ma gínse ri alt laun döbrin. Is mishe kushihe, krimig kri dakne, nur hat hi chant drúcht an sú clanachúni, sket a hatlitu, sket a vit a conrum an shaw, clointin gal magó, is mishe ku daracha de vroeder. Is mishe ku daracha de vroeder, sliep mi gehoutrum, go cannelte so brai magóine lit chritjes. Is mission ku daracha ha fallach ma yéed. Your dogs. I am your hunting dog. Though I be pure white on the green moor, my speed is my strength. Your quarry cannot escape my sudden lunge. I am your tracking dog, unbridled, obstinate, who will not yield nor stay till I clutch in my jaws your wish. I am your herding dog, gathering the shaggy flocks of your thoughts from word-rich folds in broad straths, in cosy corries, where they were too contented. I am your watchdog, your mood in a fur of dew, your oak on a ridge. Your deeds won't move unnoticed while I'm here. I am your dog at heel. I am your dog at heel, rubbing my fidelity against the bare knuckle of your ankle. I am a fairy dog, gnawing the heart of your mind when your tranquility is drenched in the clean sap of preservation. And though you should sleep, and though you should be here with me on the white meadows of my guile, I am the dark dog of your dreaming. I am the dark dog of your dreaming. Stroke me lightly, gently chafe the bray of my shoulder with your belief. I am the dark dog, concealing my teeth. Giannu Ime, making butter, and I suppose it's really a wee dig at the process of making a poem, using the metaphor of making butter. Giannu Ime. Chani le hawn le awn, tjónlag sa tjónlag a gilid órich, an brain dyrachon na henachin, a géisteach di Syria is jalach agus pósag na lít loosganach leutach, a géisteach ar san nam bunne blahich a sílig fallav o grammalas orva y Dàin. Making butter. There's nothing like it, turning and turning the golden whiteness inside the darkness of the brain, listening to the wooings and partings and weddings of soluble, tossed-about syllables, listening for the drops of buttermilk trickling away from the golden yellow firmness of a poem. Although I now live in the borders, where I hear a variant of the Scots language spoken around me, in my early days, early adult days, I suppose, I lived in Glasgow, where what the purists would regard as a coarsened version of Scots was spoken. But actually I first heard Scots from the Skinners and the Jacks, who were fishermen from a wee place called Och, spelt A-V-O-C-H, on the Black Isle. And they were ringnet fishermen. When they came into Uig, my birthplace, and where I spent the first 16 years of my life, they would always come and visit our house. They were very religious, and people like my mother were very much free church. So there was a kinship of that nature. But they came from Och, spelt A-V-O-C-H, on the Black Isle. And they spoke an entirely different language from the phrìomh loons on the hill just above them, because they didn't mix with the farm folk, they just mixed with other fisher folk on the east coast. And when they came to Uig, they basically spoke a slightly modified, perhaps, version of the language they speak naturally among themselves. Because if you heard them speaking among themselves, you could barely understand them. But they were lovely guys, and whenever their boats came into the pier in Uig, I would often, as a wee boy, go down and they'd invite me in for a cup of tea or a glass of juice or something. And they would, I guess, ask after my mother. My father had died when I was 8, so and I often say that I probably heard more Scots from these lads than I heard standard English, other than what we experienced at school. So although I didn't speak Scots myself, I have had a go occasionally at writing poems in Scots. And this one is called Blue Suede Shin. And it's a reference, I suppose, to, again, my formative years when rock and roll came upon us on the wireless. Blue Suede Shin. The tramcar sings its ain percussive sang o slow acceleration down the Aldreed sandstone shuchs, fi Aonghas te dal muir te Aonghas, that ins were Gaelic fields, een cried for Mary, een for Rye. And nu their tenemented tunes, forut ayont the stent ye ken, atween dus Pertig and the Gleska cross, baith heiden gid Brythonic roots. And that old shugly core will tak your killy cousin and yoursel toward the shops, your arguing, ach, Haley doesn't matter. There's no dissension about that. But sign he's saying, Presley's better, and your ain back speakers, Perkins wrote the bloody song, he surely kens best what it means and who to sing it. But listen to the blatter of the tram. Transistors cannae kemp with on. Aye, listen to the blatter of the tram.